All right, I'm going to go ahead and let some people in, and we'll give about 2 minutes, and I'll go ahead and get started. So if everybody would just put yourselves on mute, stay on mute, and I will go through the presentation quickly. It'll just be me by myself today. Normally I have Kaylee, our director of membership, with me, but she's a little under the weather today. So it's just going to be me, which means I got to control everything, which I can do. I do it every Monday night, and I've been doing that for the last 3 years. So I got plenty of practice doing it all by myself. So if you guys would, the folks that have joined, there's just a handful. If you would, if you have access to a keyboard, just go ahead and just type in something that way it gives me a little bit of a roll call, because it'll record your name, whatever your name is on your Zoom account. And then that way I know who's here and who's not. So I don't have to try to pay real close attention to the number of people that are in. I gotta make room on my screen so I can see everything. But I do appreciate everybody that's joined and all the people that signed up that may be watching it later. I always want to acknowledge those. And hi, Billy. My grandparents, well, when they were alive, they called me Billy. All my aunts and uncles still call me Billy. It always makes me feel like I'm back home in Kentucky when I hear Billy. Melissa doesn't even call me Billy, so makes me feel like home. I will continue to let people in, so you may see me look away and pause for a second. Multitasking isn't the best thing for an old dude like me. It's 2 after. I'm going to wait one more minute because I want to make sure everybody gets connected. And then we'll jump right into it. And like I was saying, I do appreciate everybody that is attending live, as well as the folks that will be watching later on video. Because I know life doesn't always meet up with schedules. So that's why I always make sure anything I do, as long as people sign up, they have access to the recording. Because it's important to me to have people learn the material more so than have 100 people join right now. And as I've told Adam in the past, if there's even one person here, I'm going to give it 110%. And if no one showed up, I'd still give it 110%, as if there was a whole room full of people. Because the information is important. All right, it's 3 after. We'll go ahead and get started. And I will continue to let people in as I go. So I apologize for that momentary pause. But let's go ahead and jump into it. My name is Bill Moore. I'm the Executive Director of the National Street Food Vendors Association. If you never heard me speak before, I have been doing food service since 1977 for many different companies. We're going to talk about a couple of those companies here in a minute. I've always been some type of a trainer. I was trained on how to run restaurants at the corporate level. I've also had a food truck or a food trailer or a hot dog cart. And we date that all the way back to 1981 is when I started doing that stuff. So my daytime job was food service. My nighttime job was food service. And now I'm doing the National Street Food Vendors Association so I can help teach more people and just to uplift our entire industry and make it better for the next generations that do this stuff. So I want to talk about a tale of two changes really quickly. Rax Restaurants, who you may or may not know, and then hopefully you do recognize Burger King. I worked for both of those companies. I worked between the two of them about a total of 22, 23 years. I was trying to do the math earlier, and I can't remember my exact start dates and end dates for Burger King, but it's around 22, maybe 23 years. Those two companies both started a menu edition. Just like every other food truck owner, at some point when the sales are a little bit low, they think, I'll add more food. Or if you're a brand new person, you think about, well, I can do tacos and burgers and brisket, and I can do all of this stuff, and you make a really wide menu. So these are two national chains, and they added a product. And I happened to be working at Rax Restaurants. They added the product in 1981, I believe, maybe 1980. Burger King added it in 2003, 2004. So I was at both of those places when they added this particular product, and it was a baked potato. there were massive differences in how they went about adding on the simple baked potato. And we're going to talk about why one of them was successful with it and one of them wasn't. The reason they were successful is who started the product. One company, the marketing department, started the product, said, oh, we've got to have this product. And then the other company did it the right way and let research and development look at the needs of the market and then test it. And they found the test to be successful. So at Rack's Restaurants, we added, and this is all that we added to our list of inventory, the paper products for the potato itself to go in, the potato, butter, sour cream, liquid cheddar cheese. That was it. The other options that we already had were on our salad bar already. So like one of our most popular potatoes was cheese and bacon. Sold a blue million of those. We already had bacon bits on the salad bar. Cheese and broccoli was another super popular one. We already had broccoli on the salad bar. We already had chives on the salad bar. We had chopped up onions. We had all the different toppings that would go on a baked potato. We already had a bunch of them. So adding this on didn't hurt our total inventory. Plus, research and development figured out what to do with the leftovers. So Rack's Restaurants had a salad bar. I already mentioned that. We took the leftover baked potatoes, scraped out the insides, and turned the insides into potato salad for the next day on the salad bar. We also took the skins, quartered the potato, cut the skins up, left about 1/4 of an inch of the potato flesh on them, put them in the freezer, and then the next day we'd pull them out of the freezer and deep fry them. So now we had potato skins that we could cover with the butter and sour cream or the cheddar cheese, bacon bits, whatever they wanted. So we took that leftover product and converted it into something different. And it was super popular. There were times we actually cooked baked potatoes just to be able to make potato skins because people really, really liked them. What made this product so popular is we were the first fast food restaurant to do it. If you're not familiar with Rack's, they're like Arby's. We sold roast beef and ham and turkey and that type of stuff. We started baked potatoes 1 full year before Wendy's did. We always felt like Wendy's stole our idea. And a lot of times they did steal our ideas because the home offices for both companies was in Columbus, Ohio. Now, Burger King, when it started its baked potato, it added on the paper, the potato, butter, sour cream, and liquid cheddar cheese. But we also didn't have grated cheddar cheese, so they had to add that on. We didn't have bacon bits, so they had to add that on. Didn't have broccoli, so they had to add that on. So all of the stuff that Wendy's was already selling on their baked potatoes, Burger King had to add. And this was driven by the marketing department. They didn't do research. They said, oh, we need this stuff because. And then they said, well, you know what else we need? Besides the potato that Wendy's already does, we need English muffins so we can be like McDonald's. But we didn't have at Burger King, we didn't use real eggs. We used already scrambled, and they were frozen, and we cooked them in an oven. So they said, no, we got to have real eggs so we can be just like McDonald's on their English muffins. So we added real eggs, but we didn't have a grill to cook it on because Burger King uses a chain broiler that moves the meat patties over the flames to get that flame broiled taste. So you can't do an egg that way. So we had to buy griddles. So all of our stores, 10,000 stores in the United States, bought 24-inch griddles, which then creates a problem in the kitchen because not all of them could go up under a hood. Some of them had to add a hood. So now we have the hood installation plus a 24-inch griddle, and we're redesigning a kitchen that's already been set up for 10, 15 years to flow in a certain way to add on one product, an egg, for breakfast, which is their lowest day part. Then they said, well, we got to have chili just like Wendy's. We got to have tacos just like Taco Bell. And that adds a whole bunch of frustration. Not only did they require all of this stuff be added, they made it mandatory. So if you were a franchisee, you were forced into buying the griddle, all the components that you see listed there, and sell it. Now, if you're familiar with Burger King's current menu, I'm pretty sure they don't have English muffins anymore. I know they don't have chili. They don't have baked potatoes. They don't have tacos. They brought them back last year for a limited time only. But all of those products didn't survive because the wrong part of the business was driving, let's add on stuff so we'll be busier. That's not how you get to be busier. So what I want you to think about is dreaming big. That's a big menu, but you got to start small, whether you're brand new to the business or you're thinking about adding on a product. You want to test everything before day one. Had they tested the chili, for example, we'd have never, ever had it added to the menu. It was awful. It was the most horrible chili, and it only had a 4 hour hold time, which meant every 4 hours you're making a new batch just to throw it away again. My Burger King was a little bit over $1 million a year in Niceville, Florida when we started it. We could not give chili away. It was that bad. We hated selling the tacos because the tacos had no hold time. It was frozen meat inside of a frozen taco shell, which means that half of the case is going to be broken. So now you can't sell it at all. And we could only drop them to order. So if somebody came to the drive-thru and ordered a taco or 10 tacos, it didn't matter. We had to cook them all. And they were 90 seconds to cook. So it's 90 seconds in the fryer. Then you got to pull them out of the fryer, let them drain. So you're talking another 10 or so seconds to get all the grease off of them, and then dress them with whatever the components was that went on the taco. We hated when people ordered tacos at the drive-thru because now our drive-thru speed of service goal was always 30 seconds. And now it's 90 seconds just to cook the food. And the tacos had to be cooked in their own fryer, which made it even worse. So they stressed an already difficult setup in the kitchen by adding on too much stuff. The exact same thing the food truck owners do. So you want to start with a proof of concept. You don't want to buy that griddle in the hood system to realize that, oh crap, it doesn't work. 6 months later, after they took it off the mandatory core item menu and let the franchisees decide whether they wanted to continue to sell those products or not, the majority of those griddles that were just bought ended up behind dumpsters because no one wanted to deal with them. It did not add value to the Burger King menu at all. So the promise of this class is to teach you how to start small so you can answer those questions before the risk gets expensive. I don't want you buying a griddle to throw it in the dumpster 6 months later. So before you go big, you have to prove, number one, and the most important thing is not only will people buy it, but it will bring new people to your food truck. When you start a product, you cannibalize your current guests because they're already coming there anyway. Oh, you got something new? Let me try it. They didn't come there because you had something new. Anytime you add on products, it's to get people to either come back more frequently or to be brand spanking new and come to your business and then come back frequently. You have to prove that the price works. And at this stage, you're proving the price is attractive to your customers. Then you want to prove that you can sell it fast. Then you can repeat it over time. If 30 people came in and ordered that product, can you get it out quick enough? And then the other part of the math equation is profit remains after the guest says, yeah, we love this price. Well, you got to make sure that you love what's left over. You want to start small, but that does not equal having small ambition. A lot of people want to start big because they get attention. And starting big can be very costly. The Magic of Thinking Big. This is a book that was written, I believe, in the 60s. It's a very popular book for people that are into motivation, positive motivation. And it defines what a lot of people, certainly in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, always felt like the man was against them. People even say that today. You know, government's against us. Everybody's against us. And then they use their current position as an excuse. And the book explains you don't have to be born into being wealthy. You don't have to be intelligent. All you got to understand is a certain key values and just key things to help you think better and look at things differently. And then you can have the kind of life you want to have. It's a good book. If you haven't read it, you need to read it. It's very easy to read, big print too, amazingly enough. Big dreams matter, but what matters to you as a business owner is the proof of that big dream. So thinking big gives you that vision beyond today. It gives you the confidence to pursue the business. It also creates higher standards because you're looking at the big picture. You're looking beyond, do I want to add a taco or do I want to add a baked potato? You're also thinking big gives you those long-term goals that are worth building. I work for a company called Dodge's, which is a convenience store essentially. The company's been around since the late 1800s, family owned. They started as a local grocery store, then got into gasoline, and now they've morphed into being a convenience store. Their owners, still the same family from the 1800s, talk about setting goals so big that you're afraid of them, but when you accomplish them, all you can do is say, wow. If your goal, when you accomplish it, doesn't make you say, wow, you're not dreaming big enough. Starting small, though, lets you get that real guest feedback. It lets you have a lower cost learning. Burger King spent a whole bunch of money to add on those products only to find out it was a stupid idea. And I told them it's a stupid idea when they started training us on it. And oh no, it's great. It sucks. Have you actually tasted this? Yeah, it's great. Marketing says so. Marketing doesn't matter. They're not coming to my restaurant. You also want to be able to prove there is a demand. Burger King didn't prove there was a demand for that stuff. They just assumed that's why people went to Taco Bell and Wendy's and all the other competitors, because of those one products. You want to prove that it's valuable at the price that you're selling it, and you can do it with some speed. And that's just a much safer way to scale. You think big about the destination, but you start small with the test. So think big. That sets your future for the truck, the brand, the loyal guests, and the income goal that you have. Test it small. Run one local and legal test. You want to be focused on one menu, one product, one market, one tracking sheet. Make it simple for you. Had Burger King split all those items up and introduced them over the course of a year, they may have survived because they could have learned from adding all those products. But you can't dump that much stuff onto an existing menu and expect people to figure out what you're about. And that helps you to grow smart. The magic's not in wishing. The magic of thinking big is in the disciplined action to help you get that dream that you have, that big dream. The expensive mistake. I have so many people that do this. They buy the truck and then they figure out what they're going to do with it. They buy or finance equipment. Burger King financed equipment for all those griddles and all those hood installations for over 10,000 restaurants. So it was a big, massive amount of money that they invested in something they didn't test. They didn't prove that it would work. The beginner that doesn't think about doing this small is also building a very big menu. Well, I can sell this because I know how to cook it. Well, that's awesome. You know how to cook it. That should be a plan for limited time only things in the future. So then they wrap the food truck with 30 different things on the menu and they launch. And then they discover the real problems. The people that say, just throw them in the deep end, it'll work. There's a whole bunch of people that drowned because they're thrown in the deep end and they panic. And they sell a business, and then they have killed their self-esteem because the great idea they had didn't work because they didn't plan it out well enough. They started too big. The smarter path, start with a focused, tiny menu. Track the speed, how much does it cost, and does it create waste? Sell to real strangers. Free food always tastes better. So when you take that new sandwich to work and say, hey, would you guys try this? they're going to tell you it's awesome because you gave it to them for free. Once people have invested money, they tend to get a little bit more serious about, is this over salted? Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it over seasoned? This just tastes horrible. They will tell you that because they put their money into it. Scale what shows proof. At Rack's Restaurants, those baked potatoes showed proof, and we expanded the line of baked potatoes over the years. When we started, it was butter and sour cream. We had cheese and bacon, cheese and broccoli, and then cheese only. And that was it. Later on, we added a Mexican potato because we already had the ingredients in the restaurant to do that. So we added that. We added a Szechuan pepper Chinese version. We added that. We did an Italian version because we already had the components to make an Italian. So we added things when it made sense. But we didn't start with all of those because that would have just made it too clumsy. The truck should be the answer to the business plan. It should not be the first thing. Starting small is not winging it. It doesn't mean that you skip getting permits. It doesn't mean that you act like you're invisible and hope that you can do stuff and no one catches you at it. It doesn't mean you're selling unsafe food, and it doesn't mean treating it like a hobby. There are people right now, and probably a lot of y'all know people right now that are selling food on Facebook that don't have the first idea of how to sell it safely. And I'm not talking about cottage food. I'm talking about hot meals and meal prep and stuff that has to have serious refrigeration and serious temperature logs just to prove the food's safe. And they're meeting you in a parking lot somewhere going, here you go. You don't want to do those kind of things, even to test. What it does mean when you start small is you focus on one product and you test it. You measure the demand and the price. Can you move the price up another dollar? Can you move it up 50 cents? Or is it already too expensive? Listen to feedback from people you don't know. Learning your real capacity. There are some people that start out thinking they're going to do $500 an hour, and they don't do $500 in a week because they're not prepared to even handle a $100 hour. You got to understand what your capacity really is. What could you legitimately handle? And you want to reduce the financial risk by starting small. You're not investing in a whole bunch of inventory. So here's 5 things that you could do to start small. Pop-ups at a brewery, at a coffee shop, a tasting night where you only bring a couple of products and try them out. Especially if you've already got a food truck and you want to do a limited time only, add one product and then advertise it and see what the feedback is. You can go to farmers markets or small community events, set up in a pop-up tent. Again, being legal, getting a temporary permit or whatever your community requires, but it gives you the opportunity to test with real guests and stress your own equipment, stress your team without it being a failure of, I spent $100,000 on a food truck. You can do catering. It's a known count. Caterings can be challenging, but once you get used to them, you love catering. You get a deposit, which helps you with your cash flow, and it's a controlled menu because they're picking what they want from your catering. You could sell out of a commissary. Again, get the right permits taken care of so you're legal as far as selling food, but it's called a ghost kitchen. Have you ever heard of a ghost kitchen? All it is a shared kitchen where you're cooking food and then having the food picked up by DoorDash and Uber Eats, or people come and pick up the food themselves. I talk a lot about Eggman ATX. I actually have his business card right here in front of me on my desk. This is his manager, Eggman ATX. He has a ghost kitchen. So obviously his commissary for his 3 food trucks, but he also sells out of it. People can place orders online and go to his commissary kitchen and pick up food. So essentially, he is paying for his commissary by selling food out of it. And then there is also the setting up a small cart, a tent, a trailer, even small footprint, but you got the same level of professionalism. small starting still has to be professional because you're establishing your brand from the very second you sell to somebody you don't know. So it's got to be legal. You got to have the permits, health department approvals, got to have insurance, you got to understand food safety, and you got to train yourself. And if you have employees, train them on what you want them to do. The offer needs to be clear. So what's the name of the food product? Do you have a menu board with just a few things on it? Does the pricing make sense value-wise for the guest? A $15 burger for some people is too much, but there are places that sell $15 burgers, $20 burgers even. The value has to be in that product for people to spend that kind of money. And yes, it will price out certain people, and that's okay. You're not selling to the entire world's population. You're selling to people that can afford whatever it is that you do sell. And you can have basic photos. You don't have to spend money to have a food photographer come and stage all your food. Make a sandwich, use your iPhone or your Android phone, and take a picture. You'll get really good at taking pictures, and you'll be able to do it almost in real time. You got to understand the basic numbers, something we talk about every single week. You got to understand food costs. You got to understand the paper products it takes to deliver that food. You got to understand event fees. But most importantly, once you know your food cost, how does it fit into your break even? And then what is your actual revenue? Because you can bring in a whole bunch of money and have nothing in the bank. You don't want to learn sloppy, because then you have to unlearn that when you get bigger. So stay focused and learn very neatly. 5 tests before you scale. Demand. Do people come back and buy it? Do they buy it once and come back? So that creates demand or proves demand. Can you charge enough? That's why we got to understand that break-even point. Because everybody will buy something from you at the right price. We just got to make sure that the price you do charge makes you money. Can you serve it fast enough so you can get the number of people through the line? Can you do it again next week the exact same way? And is there a profit? Is there something remaining? So number 2 is price the guest is willing to pay. And then number 5 is there a profit after they're willing to pay that price? If there's not, you don't have a business, you have a charity. Revenue tells you people showed up. A lot of people in our Facebook group ask, how many people, or they ask rather, how much do y'all make? And invariably the answers are, we bring in 500 a day, 2,000 a day, 5,000 a week. Bringing in is not what you profit. Run one controlled test, real simple. One product or a very tight menu if you're just opening. What's the target guest for that product? When we started chicken way back when, burger places added on chicken to target females. They felt like we were already had the male target because they're eating burgers. They want that red meat. Back in the 80s when we were starting chicken, females tended to want the white meat, either pork or chicken, because it was thought to be healthier. So that's why we started chicken back in the 80s, to target more females coming in. So what's your target guest? Is it kids? Is it blue-collar workers? Who is it that you expect to buy that product? Or who is it you expect to buy your menu in general? One legal sales channel, make sure you're licensed and can do it safely. One test date. Establish, I'm going to start a new product, I'm going to test it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever that looks like. Or if you're brand spanking new, small menu, and I'm going to test it for a month. One day doesn't prove anything. 1 month just barely proves it. One tracking sheet. Make sure whatever you do start, you track. If you don't track something, you're going off your feelings, your emotions, your vibes, and that doesn't work. The things you want to track would be the number of orders that actually got that product, ticket time for that product. Did you create waste? How much did it cost you? What were the sales? And then more importantly, what would you change to make it better? So what makes it a green light? Well, you're going to stop if it's illegal, it's unsafe, it's unprofitable, or there's really no demand. I'm going to give you one more example. I'm going to go a little long, so I apologize. People that have heard me speak know that I can't shut up. There was a test of frozen Coke. You guys might be familiar with that particular product. It is essentially a slushy with Coca-Cola brand products in it. The machine, back when we bought them, cost $12,000. So Coca-Cola decided that they're going to prove to all the potential people that are already a Coca-Cola vendor or user, so Burger King, McDonald's, and all those different restaurant chains that are logged in or tied into Coca-Cola's ecosystem, we're going to sell you another product so we can make more money. They faked the results. They did it in a test market in the Carolinas, and they faked the results completely. They lost a number of lawsuits over those faked results because people were buying $12,000, $13,000 machines thinking, oh, this is easy money. And what they found was adults wouldn't order it because it was cheaper for the adult to get that refillable Coke and use it in the dining room, refill it 2 or 3 or 4 times, whereas a frozen Coke was handed to you and no refills. Frozen Coke also is much sweeter, so it's hard to drink with a meal. It's almost a dessert, and people weren't treating it as a dessert because it still felt like a drink. So we couldn't sell it, couldn't give it away. And that's why you don't see a lot of frozen Coke machines still left around, because it was too expensive and really was not a good product. It was way, way too sweet. It wasn't normal Coke that we put in a frozen machine. It was a much more sugary drink that went into the machines. So we had it on inventory on top of having a really expensive machine that we couldn't do anything else with except sell slushies. So if it doesn't have a demand, you stop it. Well, you don't see those anymore, or very few of them. You can try to fix the demand only if it exists a little bit. You feel like maybe if I tweak it, maybe I'll get more demand. But you realize that maybe the price isn't where it needs to be, or the speed isn't where it needs to be, or the prep, or maybe there's too much waste. Those things you can fix through training and obviously price adjustments, but the demand has to be there first. Repeat it. If you're getting good results once, make sure you test it again to duplicate what you've done. And if you continue to get good results, then that's a really positive sign that you should scale it, put it on the menu permanently. I talked about Burger King had a core item versus mandatory and then versus optional. The core, you had no choice. It had to be there, so it was mandatory. Optional things you put in when you felt like you could use them or could sell them. Fish was something that was optional for a number of years. A lot of people would add fish during Lent because they could sell a bunch of fish during Lent, but once Lent was over, they'd pull fish off the menu. So scale, as long as the demand, the price, and the speed are all repeatable, and the profit shows promise. The goal is not to avoid risk. The goal is to stop taking blind risk. So before buying equipment or adding a product, you want to run one controlled test. And that test is to prove the menu, to prove the price, to prove there is a guest demand for the menu or the product, and to prove the processes on the other side of the food truck window don't create bottlenecks that end up hurting you long term. Then you go bigger because you got evidence rather than hope. Thank you, guys. Only went 4 minutes over. So one last little thing before we conclude. If you're not a part of our association, the National Street Food Vendors Association, it's $199 for an annual membership. That includes a free ticket to the Food Truck Owners Expo in Austin, Texas this year. And if you're not able to make that one, if we are able to do one in Orlando, it'll be in Orlando in the fall-winter months. You get a free ticket to one or the other. In any case, that's included in your membership. Plus, you have live classes. Every Monday night, I give a live class. On Tuesday, we do 2 group coaching sessions. They're live. You can bring your problems and I'll help you with them, or some of the other folks that are on the call as well will help you with them. It's just a group mind think process to help each other get better. We have a resource library. We have masterclass series. There's 30 hours worth of video, details on food cost and speed of service and everything else it takes to run a successful food truck. Get ebook versions of Food Truck 101 and 201. Both of those are available on Amazon. They're each $29.99, but it's included in your annual membership. So if you think about it, FTO tickets are about $130, and then I got $60 worth of books I'm giving you. That's your $199 already, not counting the other resources that we have, the videos. There's community access where you can ask me questions and I'll answer them. And then we do have discounted tickets as well. Most likely I'll be able to do the Florida restaurant show, and I'm in negotiation with the New England restaurant show for free tickets for them as well. So the idea is that you guys are always networking and learning and growing your business. Join the association. That QR code will take you to the join page. You can sign up right now, $199 annually, or if you can't afford $199, you can do the $19 a month version. It just doesn't include the free tickets, because obviously somebody could join for $19 and then quit after they got the free ticket. We don't want to do that.